Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erika Hingst, and I am a researcher at Instituto Butantan in São Paulo, Brazil. Since 2017, I've been part of the group of researchers and students working with purple martins in Brazil. Together with Clarissa Santos, PhD student at the University of São Paulo, we prepared this presentation to show you what we've been doing here in Brazil to better understand some aspects of the biology of purple martins. As other migratory insectivorous birds all over the world, purple martins are declining in an alarming rate. It is estimated that in the last 50 years there has been a decline of almost 40% in the populations in North America. Our main goal is to fill in the gaps in the knowledge in order to understand what might be happening in the wintering grounds to affect the survival of the species. Aspects that we consider relevant to understand in order to contribute to the conservation of purple martins are, first, the distribution in the wintering grounds and the timing of migration. Second, how they differ between the three subspecies, the western, the eastern, and the desert purple martin. And third, which habitats they are using in Brazil and what might be impacting the populations and causing the decline. In order to gather the attention of the public to the species, we created a website and used social media to bring information about the bird to the Brazilian audience. Through the webpage Andorinha Azul, combined with Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, we present in Portuguese some of the information that is available at the Purple Martin Conservation Association webpage. The second step was to try and understand where purple martins go in Brazil and when. For that, we used social media and a network of bird watchers and ornithologists to put together information about the arrival and permanence of purple martins in different regions of Brazil. We compiled records from different sources, scientific literature, museum collections, and collaborative or citizen science through social media, eBird, and a Brazilian citizen science platform called Wikiavis. We analyzed data from all these sources and published last year an overview of the distribution and timing of migration of Prognis subis in Brazil. A large chunk of data we analyzed in this paper was obtained from collaborative science, and especially from Wikiavis, a Brazilian dataset of photographs of birds containing more than 4 million records, as pictures or sounds collected by 42,000 bird watchers. In this open platform, available online, it is possible to search for records from a particular species. There is information about the biology, sounds, and also the distribution of every species of bird found in Brazil. Here's the information and all the records available for Prognis subis. It is possible to look at all the pictures and inspect each one of them to detect the number of females, males, young, and even in some cases, banded birds. From the total of 441 records we used in the paper, 368 were from Wikiavis, eBird, and from social media. A smaller number, 52, came from museum collections and 21 from published papers. According to the data, there are purple martins in Brazil all year long, but most of the records are concentrated between the months of September and April, as we can see in this graph. But there is also variation in the timing of departure and arrival that is related to latitude, here represented from the northern part of Brazil to the south. This variation is possibly related to differences in timing of migration between the three subspecies. Inspecting the map of distribution of purple martins in Brazil, they are not homogeneously distributed. It is possible to see that they are more concentrated in coastal or eastern Brazil and in the Amazon region. There are fewer records in the south and central regions. The areas where the records are more concentrated are located in central Amazon, in the state of Amazonas, which is a wintering destination for the eastern purple martins, Prognis subis subis. The records are indicating a concentration of observations of purple martins in some localities along the Rio Negro, a major river close to the city of Manaus. One of these localities is Iranduba, where each year there is a large roost of purple martins. Most of the studies are conducted there by the team of researchers from the National Institute of Amazon Research, Northern Arizona University, Purple Martin Conservation Association, and Instituto Butantan. Each year, we capture the birds, collect biological information such as measurements, morphological characters, and molt stage. We also band all of them and outfit some with tags, collect tail feathers for the analysis of hormones, contaminants, and isotopes, and sample them for viruses. We recovered so far in this locality 2 birds banded in the US. The records analyzed for the paper are indicated that the purple martins wintering in the eastern coastal region of Brazil come from British Columbia and are part of the western populations of the subspecies Prognis subis arboricola. More studies are necessary in these localities, where there are large cities and the habitats are largely modified and fragmented. The western part of the state of São Paulo has also many records, and we don't know so far which is the subspecies that winters there and where the birds are coming from. But we do know that this region used to have large roosts in the past, especially in parks located in cities, and the conflict with humans largely reduced or eliminated those birds over the last 20 years. Based on the information we gather so far, there are still gaps that need to be filled in order to have the full picture of the distribution of purple martins in their wintering grounds, so we can evaluate the threats to those birds. Here are the major points. We know that eastern purple martins, Prognis subis subis, winter in the Amazon, and they are suffering contamination by mercury from illegal gold mining and hydroelectric dams. We know that western purple martins, Prognis subis arboricola, are mostly wintering in eastern coastal Brazil, and the threats in this case are, as far as we know, habitat loss and human-wildlife conflict. We still don't know if they're subject to contamination either by pesticides widely used in agriculture or by mercury. We still don't know where the populations of the desert purple martin, Prognis subis hesperia, winters in Brazil, nor we know the threats to the conservation of this subspecies in the wintering grounds. But we do know that they are at risk at their breeding grounds because of the habitat loss and fire, and especially because of the loss of the saguaro cacti where they nest. Research will continue in Brazil so we can understand what are the threats and perhaps make sure that the populations will revert the trend we have seen so far. I thank all my colleagues and students that are dedicated to understand the problems that these and other species are facing, the PMCA, and especially the landlords and other people that, like us, love the purple martins and are willing to dedicate their time and efforts to the conservation of this beautiful bird. Thank you. Over the last 20 years. Based on the information we gather so far, there are still gaps that need to be filled in order to have the full picture of the distribution of purple martins in their wintering grounds, so we can evaluate the threats to those birds. Here are the major points. We know that eastern purple martins, Prognis subis subis, winter in the Amazon, and they are suffering contamination by mercury from illegal gold mining and hydroelectric dams. We know that western purple martins, Prognis subis arboricola, are mostly wintering in eastern coastal Brazil, and the threats in this case are, as far as we know, habitat loss and human-wildlife conflict. We still don't know if they're subject to contamination, either by pesticides widely used in agriculture or by mercury. We still don't know where the populations of the desert purple martin, Prognus subis hesperia, winters in Brazil, nor we know the threats to the conservation of this subspecies in the wintering grounds. But we do know that they are at risk at their breeding grounds because of the habitat loss and fire, and especially because of the loss of the saguaro cacti where they nest. Research will continue in Brazil so we can understand what are the threats and perhaps make sure that the populations will revert the trend we have seen so far. I thank all my colleagues and students that are dedicated to understand the problems that these and other species are facing, the PMCA, and especially the landlords and other people that, like us, love the purple martins and are willing to dedicate their time and efforts to the conservation of this beautiful bird. Thank you.
Thank you, Erika.
Hi.
Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
Good.
I know that it was very fun to call you out for being a mammologist when I knew you were muted and you couldn't say anything to
Oh, I
me.
just published a paper on the pink dolphins.
That's right. Um, Erika, while we wait for questions to come in, why that paper that we just published with just mapping out purple martins in Brazil? Can you speak to why that's even important to do? It seems like such a basic thing that folks might say, "What? Why is that important to do?"
Well, it seems to me that it's fantastic that there are so many people aware of the existence of the purple martins in the U.S., while in Brazil, most of the people just don't know um, who are those birds, where they are, what they're doing. So I think that raising awareness about this bird here through social media was particularly rewarding, especially considering that in some cities, some small cities in western part of the state of São Paulo, there is so much conflict with the roosts that form in the middle of the cities. So that's how everything started. It's just basic knowledge that we don't have here about natural history of birds.
Yes, things are so well known and understood about species here in North America, but in South America, just the most basic thing, like where is a species during a certain time of year, is unpublished. There may be the data out there just like this that we could go get, and it's just we're starting from zero and
Oh yeah,
starting to build a knowledge base.
yeah. As Mario mentioned in his presentation, there's so much that we don't know, even about other species that share the same roost with the purple martins. So yeah, we don't know much about, especially migratory birds, and it's
Uh,
impossible to really conserve a species without understanding what happens in the wintering grounds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to know their entire life cycle. Lori asks, are there educational programs for local school children about purple martins similar to programs in Colombia for a cerulean warbler?
No, we don't have anything like that going on here. I wish we had. And unfortunately, we don't have enough time or effort or resources that we can dedicate to do the research that is necessary, the outreach that is necessary, the education that is necessary. We need more people here, actually.
Yeah, we need more people, and more people requires more funding. So, unfortunately, it comes back to money very regularly, and it's difficult. Um, all right, Babette asks, in South America, are the birds protected under the Migratory Bird Act? What's the protection for purple martins down there?
No, they're considered least concern here.
Now, is
And
there
I think the same is the IUCN status of purple martins. It's wow, it's everywhere, right? It's a world.
yeah, they're least concern overall, but here in the United States, them being a migratory bird, they're protected under the Migratory Bird Act. There is a similar Technically, there's similar protection for migratory birds in Brazil, correct?
Well, there should be so many things going on here in Brazil. I cannot even start. It's embarrassing, and I feel really ashamed to say that under the current government here, we don't have anything. We're just destroying the Amazon as quick as it's possible, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wish we could revert that trend.
yeah. It's very difficult right now to have any sort of environmental enforcement of anything in Brazil. Although
Yeah.
you have an election coming up, so without getting
Well,
political, it's difficult to argue against the fact that things have not been going well for purple martins and habitat in Brazil.